What's up, everyone? I'm Megan Avery, and welcome to BossFM Now, where you know you can always count on BossFM to deliver the latest and greatest in pop culture, politics, and whatever is buzzing in the streets. We do it for the culture.
That's right, Megan. And because we know that you have your phone in hand, we need you to go ahead and download that BossFM app from your app store and follow us at BossFM Radio on all social media platforms so that you can stay connected.
Today we've got a new episode of Entertainment Corner with CJ, Rapid Fire with David Medina, and some more TikTok food reviews. Let's get into it. For our first story of the night, the United States is recommending a pause of the Johnson & Johnson single-dose vaccine. The CDC and FDA are investigating reports of 6 cases of blood clots linked to the vaccination. These clots form near the brain and can be very dangerous. This clotting side effect is similar to a reported clotting disorder from the AstraZeneca vaccine. This order is not mandated, so people can still receive the Johnson & Johnson vaccination if they would like to.
Oh man, that sounds horrible. I really hope they figured out how to end that.
Luckily, it's only 6 cases or so it's out of like the 3.6 million, so I'm hoping that this is a really low-risk situation.
Well, hope they really get that taken care of still. Let's dive into some entertainment news and CJ Atkins segment of Entertainment Corner.
Thank you guys in the studio. This is your host CJ here with Boss FM to present your Entertainment Corner. Let's get into it.
The live-action Powerpuff Girls show at the CW has found its 3 leads, with Chloe Bennett, Dove Cameron, and Yana Peralt all joining the show as Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup respectively. Scrub star Donald Faison has also been casted as Professor Utonium. The series, now titled simply Powerpuff, was first announced back in August. Based on the Cartoon Network series, the new series sees the pint-sized superheroes all grown up in their 20s, disillusioned and resentful for having lost their childhood fighting crime. Will they agree to reunite now that the world needs them more than ever? The first full trailer for the latest installment from the Saw franchise has arrived. Spiral follows Detective Zeke, played by Chris Rock, and his police veteran father, played by Samuel Jackson, as they investigate a series of murders that are eerily reminiscent of the Jigsaw Killer's grisly crimes. Zeke discovers that the murders reveal a pattern of cop killing throughout the city, with disembodied pigs' heads showing up at his police precinct, and he soon finds himself in the middle of a sadistic torture game. COVID has delayed the release of Spiral for some time now, but fans can expect it in theaters May 14th. And this has been CJ with your Entertainment Corner. Back to you guys in the studio.
I'd like to welcome David to our broadcast today. So David, what do you think of the Spiral trailer?
Honestly, I watched Saw growing up. Kind of made me like desensitized to all the violent and like, all that gruesome stuff. But I'm down to watch it. I'm excited to, see it.
How about you, Jacarious?
Dude, Saw used to scare me so much, but as time went on, I kind of started watching it. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Spiral for sure, man. I am. You?
I get a little scared by the Saw movies. I'm not a huge gore fan, but I have watched a couple of them, so I definitely want to check it out. But moving right along, Jacarious has an update addressing the Art Institute of Chicago's new board chief. Jacarious?
Yes, Denise Garner will be the Art Institute of Chicago's next board chief. Denise is also believed to be the first Black woman to lead a major museum board. Denise has a history of being an art collector and marketing executive. She served as a trustee for 15 years and has held vice chair for 5 of those years. Her term will start in November, which is when the current board chief will resign. Gardner made a statement claiming that it's hard to ignore the historical significance and that it adds pressure for her to be very successful in this position. Gardner also mentioned that she was brought into the Art Institute as a volunteer 27 years ago by Jetta James, the museum's first female Black trustee. I did some more research and I also figured out that Jetta James had recently passed away, so I'm pretty sure if she was still alive, she'd be pretty proud of Denise Gardner. Well, contributor David Medina has a new episode of TikTok reviews. Let's check it out.
Thank you, Megan and Mark in the studio. It's David Medina with BossFM NOW. Now let's hop into the TikTok food package. So for this TikTok food package, I wanted to do something with Oreos. Oreos is one of my favorite cookies. It's my go-to cookie. And this one is called the Oreo mug cake. So what you're gonna need is Oreos, your milk, some flour, some sugar, and some cocoa powder and baking powder. And that's about it. So let's hop into it. First things first, grab a mug for the mug cake. Next, you want to grab 4 Oreos and drop them in the mug. Next, a quarter cup of almond milk, or whatever milk you're filling, it really doesn't matter. Next, you want to keep smashing the Oreos until you get a nice little texture looking like this. Next, 1 tablespoon of sugar, 1 tablespoon of flour, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, and 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder. Now you mix that all up until you get a nice little texture looking like this. Now grab 1 more Oreo and drop it in until it's sunk underneath all the mix. Next, you throw the mug in the microwave and let it sit for about a minute. Now enjoy the Oreo mug cake. This thing was bomb.
So, Dave, how would you rate your creation 1 out of 10?
Like an 8.5, I'd say, for sure.
8.5, that's pretty high for how little ingredients and how easy it was. Jacarious, do you think you tried this at home?
Oh yeah, I was actually gonna ask David if he could send me that video because I might surprise my girlfriend with a nice Oreo cake. Tell her I made it all. You know.
That's right, as you should.
I think that would be super sweet, Jacarious. But moving on, if you've been following the case of Daunte Wright, you are aware he was fatally shot during what was supposed to be the drawing of a taser. In case you need a recap, let's check this out.
As you can hear, the officer, while struggling with Mr. Wright, shouts, "Taser, taser," several times. That is part of the officer's training prior to deploying a taser, which is a less lethal device. That is done to make her partners aware, as well as the subject, that a taser deployment will be imminent. During this encounter, however, the officer drew their handgun instead of their taser. For informational purposes, we train with our handguns on our dominant side and our taser on our weak side. So if you're right-handed, you carry your firearm on your right side and you carry your taser on the left. This is done purposefully and is trained. As I watch the video and listen to the officer's commands, it is my belief that the officer had the intention to deploy their taser, but instead shot Mr. Wright with a single bullet. This appears to me, from what I viewed and the officer's reaction and distress immediately after, that this was an accidental discharge that resulted in the tragic death of Mr. Wright. I have asked the BCA to conduct an independent investigation into the shooting and death. Once they are completed, I expect they will submit their findings, independent of me, to the appropriate authorities, the appropriate attorneys that will look and review this case. I'm also stressing that I do hope for the community to be patient and allow this criminal investigation, to be completed as thoroughly as possible. I believe Mr. Wright deserves this, as do all involved. The officer is currently on administrative leave.
So, Jacarious, what are your thoughts after listening to this?
Well, it just seems like an ongoing nightmare known as police brutality in America, and it's not surprising. It keeps happening every year. It's a different name every year. And I used to, I used to not really voice my opinion so much, but it's like, how can I not? That could have easily been me or my brothers,
Yeah, it's awful. It is so awful. I have been following this case since Sunday pretty rigorously just because I've been so worried about just everything going on over there. And hearing that it was a mistake, like that it was an accident, just it makes it almost like worse in some way because we hear the body camera footage was released I think early Monday morning, and it showed her saying like taser, taser, and she pulls out her gun, and then immediately after shooting she starts cursing and being like, I shot him. it's just heartbreaking and sad, and it seems like that should not be something that happens. But David, what do you think? What are your thoughts after hearing all of this?
Yeah, to be honest, I believe that it wasn't a mistake. I mean, there's a lot of differences between, taking out your gun and taking out your taser, like the weight of it, the color of it, and like just the feel of it. So I really don't believe it was a mistake.
Do you guys? Yes.
Go ahead, Jacarious.
Do you guys know why he was pulled over?
He apparently had expired licenses on his car. He also called his mother as soon as he was pulled over and told her that they were also talking about the air fresheners that he had hanging in his car. After that phone call, though, he dropped the phone and his mother heard a skirmish going around, and then afterwards the phone was hung up. Well, the police actually found out that there was a warrant out for his arrest. He had missed a court date for some misdemeanor gun charges. They were trying to take him in when he got back in his car and drove away, and that is when the incident occurred.
Wow. Wow. I'm definitely speechless, man. I definitely believe that he should not have lost his life to that. And for the police officer who shot him to get confused between a taser and a gun, that seems very hard to believe since those two items, I would think, look completely different.
Afterward, there was protests going on all around the city, so they were using tear gas and rubber bullets and also flappings as well. But around the same time, actually, on Sunday night, the city council actually talked about banning these things, at the exact same time. So, David, how do you feel about the fact that these items were being used while they were also talking about banning these items for use?
Yeah, it was quite the coincidence. I mean, honestly, they don't need to be used. I feel like it's just kind of like an overreaction. Again, I mean, we've seen, how police handled everyone storming the Capitol. So, I mean, it's just the difference in between that too. I mean, you really don't need it. I think they should ban it though, for sure. And, it's just a coincidence that they were talking about at the same time they were using them. So, yeah.
Well, unfortunately, this is all the time we have to discuss the topic tonight. David Medina is back with us in a segment of Rapid Fire. Let's get into it, guys.
What's up, guys? You guys are now tuned in to Rapid Fire. I'm your host, David Medina with BossFM NOW. Now let's hop into the latest trendy news. The Wisconsin officer who shot Jacob Blake last year has returned to active duty and will not be subjected to any internal discipline. The Kenosha Police Department announced Rustin Shesky's return in a statement Tuesday, nearly 8 months after he shot Blake 7 times in the back while responding to a domestic incident on August 23rd. Jacob Blake, the 29-year-old, was paralyzed from the waist down. The officer was placed on administrative leave shortly after the incident and reportedly returned to the job on March 31st. Meek Mill, Michael Rubin, and the Reform Alliance helped change probation laws in Virginia. The Reform Alliance, with the help of Justice Forward Virginia, the American Conservative Union, and Faith and Freedom, were able to sway Virginia legislation to ratify a bill that puts a cap on probation term. The new law will go into effect on July 1st, 2021. It will limit adult probation sentences to a maximum of 1 year for misdemeanor offenses and 5 years for felonies. Prior to this law, there was no probation restriction. Probation is something that negatively affected Meek Mill's life since he was a teenager. His history and documents of probation plight helped politicians see how impactful and unjust probation can be on a person who is trying to better their life. Young Thug shares Slime Language 2 release date and cover art. On Tuesday, Thugger announced the crew is dropping Slime Language 2 on April 16th. That's it for Rapid Fire. I'm your host David Medina with BossFM NOW. Now back to the guys in the studio.
I think it's wonderful that Meek is using his platform and his experience to just better the lives of other people. David, what do you think about this action plan?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, he's a prime example for that. I mean, he lived through that. He has the, historical documents to how it kind of, set him back. But now there's limits on the probation. So it gives other people a chance to actually, do better in their lives. So definitely positive impact.
How about you, Jacarious?
I think Meek Mill is doing a great job. Kudos to him. When people were really clowning him with that whole Drake and that beef he had with Drake, but this totally blows that out the window, man. What is Drake doing compared to this?
Well, thank you guys for your input on that. But for our next story, we are diving into Biden and his announcements of the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan. Jacarious?
Yes, U.S. officials have stated that Biden plans to withdraw all American troops from Afghanistan by September 11th. The day will mark 20 years since the terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. The Trump administration had initially planned to withdraw all troops in response to the Taliban's threat to attack if U.S. troops were not gone by May 1st. Biden's decision will keep more than 3,000 troops in Afghanistan beyond the May 1st deadline. Officials say that Biden was trying to avoid an increase in violence because the Taliban guaranteed that the troops weren't gone by May 1st. In a report, it's noted that the Afghan government will have a hard time defending themselves if U.S. troops leave. Some other U.S. military officials who are in favor of troops staying in Afghanistan have stated that an exit of American troops could trigger a civil war and return of terrorist groups. It's really, I would think, being in the middle of all this, it's kind of hard to make that decision. Obviously these troops want to go home, but at the same time, I would assume that we don't want to leave people in Afghanistan vulnerable to be attacked by the Taliban. Well, we're wrapping up the night with an episode of In the Streets with Harvey Krug. Let's check it out.
Hello. As we journey through the days, let's talk about what's going on in our towns and states. Once more, let's dive again in these streets. According to a report from NewJersey.com, Governor Phil Murphy has announced this week that self-service stations such as buffets and salad bars can open up again. The order takes place immediately. However, buffets are still barred from places like restaurants and casinos for the meantime. Due to vaccine rollout and implementation, more steps are being taken to ensure the safety of citizens as more and more things begin to open up. Also, mac and cheese lovers will be excited for the Hoboken Mac and Cheese Festival this Saturday on April 10th. The event will be a food crawl with multiple locations instead of the usual one-roof gathering. The event starts at 1 p.m. until 5 p.m. Check-in ends at 3:30, and the event will help Party with Purpose, a Hoboken non-profit organization supporting children's initiatives. Harvey Cruz, Boss FM Now.
I just want to say thank you so much, David, for all of your information and ideas today. But unfortunately, everyone, that is actually it for Boss FM Now today. Make sure to tune in tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern for more of the latest and greatest. If you'd like to watch our show, as always, they will be made available for replay on our social media and on our app as well. Thanks again for tuning in, y'all. It's Megan Avery.
I'm Jacarious, Stanley.
And I'm David Medina.
Have a great night, guys.